Hey everyone, I'm Isaac and welcome back to Isaac Reviews 2024. The horror genre is an extremely lucrative market when it comes to movies. Not all of them are good, that's for sure, but it's been very easy for them to turn a profit over the years. And one of the most recognizable horror franchises out there would have to be Alien. Starting all the way back in 1979 with legendary director Ridley Scott at the helm, it and its sequel Aliens captivated and terrified audiences throughout the late 20th century, and I can definitely see why. They've got some thrilling tension and extremely effective scares, on top of having some exceptional writing and characters and revolutionary visuals for the time that still largely hold up well 4 decades later. Sure, the later entries in the series haven't exactly been the most well-liked, but the original two have managed to stand the test of time and become icons of pop culture and the sci-fi and horror genres. This brings us to the latest Alien film, Alien Romulus. Ever since Disney bought Fox and changed its name, they've been bringing back a lot of the studio's major money-making franchises for the big and small screen. Results may vary depending on which franchise they're working with. And with Romulus, they brought on board Don't Breathe and Evil Dead director Fede Alvarez to handle the new installment, with Ridley Scott producing the film under his production banner scot-free. I was really interested to see how Romulus would stand compared to the other Alien films, especially considering how it was a midpool set in between the first two, and even more impressive was that this was gonna be my first time watching a movie outside of the United States. Now, the film wasn't gonna be coming out in Japan for another 3 weeks, and the theater in the base I live on is undergoing renovations for God knows how long, so my parents and I had to get creative with how we were gonna see it. Eventually, we found a theater on a different base about an hour from ours, and after initially struggling to find it, we were able to get there and see our movie. And it was, honestly, not that bad. It takes place sometime after the events of the first Alien and centers around a young adult woman named Rain and her surrogate brother Andy, who've been struggling to make ends meet before eventually joining up with some friends to try and escape their home planet. But after coming across an old abandoned space station, the crew finds themselves being hunted and picked off one by the hostile xenomorphs, so they have to team up and try to find a way to escape the station all in one piece. The best way I can describe Alien Romulus is that it's good as is, but there's a lot holding it back from being truly great. I'll start with what I liked, because even with its shortcomings, it succeeds on a lot of other fronts. Let's start with the writing. While yes, it is a bit formulaic, and it has a few moments of obvious nostalgia bait, it's decently well executed with some great direction and memorable characters whose actors all did a really good job here, especially the 2 leads. And this is probably just me, but Andy kinda gave off the vibes that he was autistic coded. I didn't know if that was intentional or if he could even be neurodivergent since he's an android, but still. As for the scares, they are just as great as before, with a perfectly uneasy atmosphere, thrilling tension, and some gnarly deaths where even though I knew they were gonna happen, I was still taken aback by some of them. Another area where Alien Romulus succeeds is with the visuals. In case you didn't know, it was actually shot chronologically and largely made use of practical effects and sets. And it paid off tremendously in the final product, where not only did the sets and creature designs look really cool, and not only was there some amazing cinematography, but the few instances of CGI we did get looked fantastic and were balanced out spectacularly by the stuff that was shot in camera. However, sort of related to the visuals, this does lead me to my one major problem with Alien Romulus, which is how it implemented the late Ian Holmes character Rook into the story. I was very concerned upon hearing this, especially with it being only a year since we got that truly nightmarish CGI necromancy in The Flash, but as it turns out, the character was played by an actual, currently alive actor who only bore resemblance to Holm. But at the same time, they also used AI to enhance his voice, so I don't know why they couldn't have just gotten another actor who could just replicate the voice, especially since we had a whole strike last year where we all collectively determined that using AI in movies and shows is a bad idea. As for the finale, that's another part of the film that I wasn't that big a fan of. Basically, one of the characters got impregnated with a xenomorph egg, and she ends up giving birth to this weird human-xenomorph hybrid thing. And I'm sorry, but this was just ridiculous. And the CGI on it was extremely uncanny, which I get was kind of the point, but it didn't look good at all. Other than that, Alien Romulus was a good movie, but it had some truly baffling creative decisions holding it back from being any better than it already was. In spite of its problems, however, it had some excellent visuals for the most part, great acting, and some worthwhile scares. If you're a fan of the Alien franchise, I'd say this is worth checking out either on the big or small screen. I doubt it'll be for everyone, but for my first movie outside of the US, I'd say I'm off to a pretty good start. A good enough start for a 7 out of 10, I should add, so I'm glad I skipped Borderlands in favor of this. Next time, I'll most likely be watching Beetlejuice. I still haven't seen the original film from 1988, but this new one looks fun, and it's cool to see the original cast and crew returning for it. Anyways, thanks for watching this episode of Isaac Reviews 2024, subscribe for more videos like this, and I'll see you all later.